Hi, what's up, Bombers? Welcome back to math class. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a Desmos activity. And I put a link in Schoology, but you can also do it this way. It's student.desmos.com, and then the code is ARAZRH. And so this Schoology lesson, we're going to work on graphing rational functions, and I'll remind you what that is. Okay, so when you get in, you can just type in your first and last name. um, you don't have to sign in with Google or anything like that. And what it'll look is this right here. So we're doing a student preview here. Um, First slide is already set up for you. Let's go to the next one here. Okay, so on this activity, you're going to have rational functions. And remember that rational functions are functions that have x in the denominator in the bottom of a fraction. So if you look at this one here, this is 1 over x minus 1 minus 2 is the function here. You can just try putting numbers in. Like, for example, if you put, let's put in, we'll put 2 into this. So we got 1 over 2 minus 1. That's 1 over 1 minus 2, which makes -1. And you can see that that's graphed right here. So this is just a graph of that function. And for this first group of problems, you're just going to be fixing it. And I'll show you how to fix these. So this one, when we launch it, it's too low. So we need to raise it up. So one thing that we've learned this year, and we've done this several times, is to raise something up, um, you should be able to just add on to the function. So right now this has a -2 on it. And we're going to need to change that. We need to raise it up by about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 units. So instead of a -2, let's try a +3. Okay, that looks pretty good. And we launch it. All right, so what we just learned right there is this number that's just added on at the end or subtracted off, that's going to raise or lower your graph. Okay, all right. Number 2. Change the sign of one number below to fix the marble slide. So right now it's y equals 4 divided by x minus 1 and then -2. We're going to change the sign of one of these. And so actually right now it's positive divided by x. If we change that to a -4 divided by x, what that's going to do is flip everything to the opposite. It's going to flip it upside down. So changing the sign of that is just turning upside down. Now it's a divided by x, whatever number you have in there for x. So that's why it flipped it upside down. And we'll launch that. And our marbles should catch the stars. There we go. All right. Fix it number 3. Okay, fix it number 3. Now this graph is a little bit crazy. They've got an x minus 4 to the second power in there, and that's why it kind of swoops down in both directions. You don't really need to worry about that too much. We need to know what to change about this so that we catch the marbles. So right now we're not catching it, and the reason is that the domain here is restricted. This domain restriction, remember the domain are the numbers we're putting in for x into a function. This one is only graphing this one is less than 9. So I think if we change that to like 11 and then launch it, it should go, hopefully, and catch those things. Okay, when you do a challenge slide, you might want to be able to do this. So if you notice this shape, to make this shape, you're going to have the x minus 4, whatever the x thing is, in parentheses and have a second power on it. That'll make it so they both go down or both go up depending on the sign here. I think if we would change this to a +1, yeah, now they would both go up if you find that useful on your marble slides. Okay. Fix it number 4. Okay, right now the function is 4 divided by x. And we're going to change one number in this to fix the marble slide. So if you think about when you put the number 4 in for x, 4 divided by 4 is 1. So that's why this is graphed at 4 comma 1 right there, that spot right there. We want to raise this thing up to about 5. So 4 divided by what makes 5? Or sorry, actually, we're going to change the 4. Sorry. What divided by 4 makes 5? I think that's going to be a 20. Well, I got mixed up there for a second. Okay, 20 divided by x. Now when you put 4 in, 20 divided by 4 is 5. So that's going to do that. So putting a larger number up here is going to make it kind of raise, kind of puff it up, I guess we would say. If we change that to 30, it's going to make it up even higher. Or if you make it a 12, it's going to drop down lower. So that'll be useful when you're doing your marble. Okay, fix it number 5. Change one number in the row below to fix the marble slide. All right, if we need to shift this thing over to here. So if you remember what we talked about in yesterday's lesson when we were graphing these, the excluded value is going to be, in this one, the way it's written right now, this x plus 1, the number that you put in and it makes a 0 on the bottom is -1, right? -1 plus 1 is 0. So 0 is the, we would call that the vertical asymptote of this. Whoop. So, sorry, -1 is the vertical asymptote. So right now it's right here. What we want to do is we want to shift this thing over and make the vertical asymptote be about 4 or 5. So if you think about, a good way to do this is, what number could we put right here so that when we put 5 in, it makes 0? And that's going to be a -5, right? If we put a -5 there, now it shifted it over to the right. Let me erase here. So changing that number that's added on or subtracted from the x is going to shift it to the left or to the right. If we put a -5 there, now it's going to make the excluded value be +5, because 5 minus 5 is 0. And I think that should work. Let's launch it. There we go, success. All right, so what you're going to do, there's some predictions here that you're going to do these next slides. Slide 8, predict what happens if you change this 5 right here to a 10. You should know that, and then you're going to verify that, right? Predict what happens if we change this -2 to a +3 in the equation. What's that going to do? You're going to write to me about what that's going to do. Predict number 3, predict what happens when you change this +3 to a -2. We talked about that. So this is just making sure you understand how all those numbers affect it. And this one, predict number 4, you won't get many stars. How would we change this equation to collect all the stars? So you're going to talk about how to change this. What do we need to do to change this to collect those stars? And verify number 4. You're going to try this. So some hints on this. I think we should change this from a positive to a negative to make it kind of do a flip, okay, to go opposite. That helps. I think that this +2 is going to need to change. Right now, the excluded value is -2. If you put -2 in, it makes 0. So this thing has a vertical asymptote at -2. We need to shift that over to the right. So we talked about how to do that. Shape. Okay. And your task after you do those slides. So now I'm on slide 17. I want you to try at least 2 challenge slides. So challenge number 1 doesn't look too bad, and then you go around and choose which challenge. On these challenge slides, you have to use rational functions. So like, I know that you could straight line. This one is linear, it looks like. So you could do slope-intercept form, y equals slope times x plus the y-intercept. We want to use rational functions, which means it's written as a fraction with the x in the bottom to solve these. So your job is those slides be at the up through 16, and then, or up through 16, and then 2 challenge slides. All right, I can help you out if you get stuck. Always just shoot me an email, and I can help you out. I'd be glad to. All right, thanks. Have a good weekend, guys.